Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to all of you in this first video of week number 3. The topics of this week are density law, photoelectric effect law, and basics of Newton law. The contents of this presentation have been taken from the chapter number 9 and chapter number 10 of your textbook. On completion of this presentation, students will be able to describe density law basics and its uses. We will be doing some examples of how to calculate porosity from density log. We will see how borehole correction of the density log is made. Further, we will discuss PEF log basics, and we will do some examples how to identify lithology based on PEF log reading. And in the last, we will discuss some basics of Newton law. Density log. Obviously, in density log we measure the formation's bulk density. Formation bulk density is the overall density of a rock, including solid matrix and the fluid enclosed in the pores. So in fact, basically the bulk density is a function of formation's porosity and formation's fluid content. Each lithology has a different density. For example, sandstone has a different density, limestone has a different density, dolomite, shale, coal, salt and hydrite, other evaporites. So all lithologies by nature has different densities. But if we consider a particular lithology, for example a sandstone, so sandstone, for example, a sandstone with 0% porosity has a bulk density of 2.65 gram per cc. This is the density of a sandstone with no fluid content, and this basically sandstone composed of 100% solid. The density of that particular sandstone is 2.65 gram per cc. With increase in porosity, for example at 10% porosity of a sandstone filled with water, the bulk density decreases and it is around now 2.49 gram per cc, which means that bulk density is a function of porosity. So with increase in porosity, bulk density decreases because now solids have been reduced in porous sandstone, and that particular percentage of solid have been occupied by water now, and water is less denser as compared to solid. So overall density of the rock has decreased. So with increase in porosity, the bulk density of the rock decreases. Obviously, if a 10% porosity sandstone filled with gas, obviously that particular sandstone, the bulk density will be lower than 2.49 gram per cc, because now that 10% porosity has occupied by gas, and gas has much lower density as compared to water. So bulk density is a function of porosity and the fluid content. Similarly, 20% porous sandstone filled with either water or gas will have lower density as compared to 2.49 gram per cc. Gram per cc is basically the unit of density, and we know that 1 gram per cc is equal to 1000 kilogram per meter cube. So water density is 1 gram per cc, which is equal to 1000 kilogram per meter cube. So this is a common density, the field unit of density in petroleum industry. The formation density log is recorded in track number 2 and 3 of log presentation, and it is basically presented on a linear scale. Generally the scale we have seen in the previous slides, its scale is generally 1.95 to 2.95 gram per cc. This is the most common lithology found in a given log section, but sometimes the densities can be higher than 2.95, and sometimes the densities can be lower than 2.95. So the scale is chosen according to the minimum and the maximum density observed in a given log section. So generally the typical scale is 1.95 to 2.95, indicating that most of the lithologies have density lying between these two numbers. Again, density log is an example of induced type measurement. Induced type measurement, we know that we have a source and detectors. Through the source we bombard the formation with something. So in this case, in density log we bombard the formation with gamma rays, the radiation. That gamma rays moves inside the formation through source. Obviously they strikes with the material of the formation and they return to the detectors. So based on the energy and the number of counts at a detector, we calculate or estimate the density of the formation. So in density log, we bombard the formation with radiation and measure how much radiation returns to the detectors. Again, its main use is to drive the value for the total porosity of the formation. We will see how we estimate porosity by knowing the bulk density of the rock. Again, it is also useful in the detection of gas bearing formation and in the recognition of evaporites. Evaporites are salt and hydride. We will see the uses in great detail in coming slides. These are the typical responses of the density log. Again, the scale in this particular log section is from 1.7 to 2.9 gram per cc. In shale section, generally the density is 2.4. Again, I am mentioning that density ranges of a particular shale, of a particular sandstone, because it's a function of the mineralogy, it's a function of the porosity, it's a function of the fluid content in the porous media. So the shale has a different densities depending on the mineral of the shale. So in this particular shale, the density is 2.4. The sandstone, 0% sandstone has a density of 2.65 gram per cc, but when the sandstone is 10% porous and contains water, the density decreases from 2.65 to 2.49. Again, these two are sandstone and based on the porosity and the fluid content, their density is decreasing. Similarly, limestone, 0% limestone has a density of 2.71 gram per centimeter cube, and 10% limestone filled with water has a density of 2.54 gram per cc. So the bulk density is a function of mineralogy. So for each mineral, the density is different, and with same mineralogy with different porosity, bulk density is changing. Same case with dolomite. 0% dolomite, 0% porous dolomite has a density of 2.87 gram per centimeter cube, and 10% porous dolomite has a density of 2.68 gram per centimeter cube. For example, 20% sandstone containing gas has lower density, around 2.30 gram per cc, as compared to the same porous sandstone containing oil and water. So the same porous sandstone, 20% porous sandstone containing oil and water, has a density of around 2.32 gram per centimeter cube, but the same porous sandstone when containing gas has a density lower than 2.32 gram per centimeter cube. Shale again has a variable density depending on compaction and other parameters. Coal has a density around 1.4 gram per centimeter cube. From 1.2 to 1.5 gram per centimeter cube, the typical number is 1.4 gram per centimeter cube. So these are the typical responses of density log. Again, if a sandstone is 30% porous, its density will be different, and if limestone containing 30% porous filled with gas or water, its density will be different. So bulk density is different for different mineralogy, is different for different porosity system. So bulk density its main use basically is to estimate porosity. The all uses of density log is written on this slide, and the density log is provide porosity, lithology, hydrocarbon trends. Basically, it helps you to identify the overburden pressures. It is also used to obtain bulk modulus and shear modulus, and it is also used to estimate acoustic impedance. We will see uses in further slides too. this is basically the principle of how gamma ray, how density log basically measures the porosity. Generally, the gamma rays, when interact with matter, depending on the energy of the gamma ray, three possible processes are expected. When gamma ray interact with matter, and gamma rays has very high energy level, greater than 10 million electron volt, a phenomena called pair production takes place. Pair production, as you can see in this figure, then when gamma ray is striking the atom, it is basically converting into electron and positron. So this is pair production, and this phenomena occur at high energy level. At medium energy level, a phenomena called Compton scattering occur. In Compton scattering, basically the incident gamma ray, when it strikes with the atom, the gamma ray reflect at some angle with lower energy as compared to the gamma ray, the incident gamma ray. Moreover, the formation, the atom basically eject an electron. This is electron of the atom which has taken the energy from your gamma ray and has come out of their orbits. At low energy, basically the gamma rays are absorbed by the atom, and when this gamma ray is absorbed by the atom, the atom basically has taken the energy of the gamma ray, and electrons are ejected from your atom. So energy level, basically the important thing is note here is the energy level. The Compton scattering phenomena occur at the medium energy level when the energy is higher than 75 kilo electron volt but lower than 10 mega electron volt. Low energy level basically is at low energy level you have absorption, which is called the photoelectric absorption, and this basically phenomena occur at low energy level around less than 100 kilo electron volt. The density tool basically uses these two basically principles, Compton scattering and the photoelectric absorption. As mentioned in the previous slide, that Compton scattering, it is the scattering of the gamma ray by an orbital electron. As a result of this interaction, the gamma ray loses energy and an electron is ejected from its orbit. Compton scattering basically occur in this region, 75 kilo electron volt to 10 mega electron volt energy ranges. This is basically the principle used in density logging. In low energy level, basically the photoelectric effect occurs when the incident gamma ray is completely absorbed by the electron. It is a low energy effect, hence the photoelectric absorption index is measured using gamma rays with the lowest energy. So basically two principles are there that is being used by density tool. One is the Compton scattering, another is a photoelectric absorption. So by measuring the Compton scattering phenomena, the bulk density is reported, and by measuring the photoelectric absorption index of the atom, the photoelectric effect log is reported. So basically there are two logs, density log and the photoelectric effect log. These two logs basically are based on the same gamma ray you have injected. The initial gamma rays will have Compton scattering, and ultimately that gamma rays will be absorbed by the atom. So initially by knowing the Compton scattering we predict the density, and basically by knowing the absorption we predict the PEF log. So this is a description that the gamma rays enters the formation and undergo Compton scattering by interaction with the electrons in the atoms composing the formation. Compton scattering reduces the energy of the gamma rays in a stepwise manner and scatters the gamma rays in all directions. And when the energy of the gamma rays is less than 0.5 mega electron volt, they may undergo photoelectric absorption by interaction with the atomic electrons. So this is the example, gamma ray source. The gamma ray source basically emitting the gamma rays continuously at an energy level of around 662 kilo electron volt. These gamma rays are going inside the formation, and initially you will have the Compton scattering, and because of the counter scattering, the gamma rays are scattering everywhere with lower energy. You have two detectors generally. Older tools generally has one detector, but newer tools has two detectors. We will see what is the use of using two detectors. So gamma rays interact with rock using medium energy and low energy. These gamma rays basically depending on the formation density, either they will move very fast or they will slow down very quickly depending on the interaction of that gamma rays with the electron of the formation. So ultimately these gamma rays will be absorbed by your formation, and based on knowing how much they are absorbed, you calculate the photoelectric absorption. So this is the simple diagram, and this slide shows that the density tool is a PET device. PET device means the device which is stick to the formation wall. You can see that this tool is stick to the formation wall by opening an arm which is connected to your formation sand face or the wall. The gamma ray source, gamma rays are emitting, and gamma ray detectors are measuring the number of gamma rays that are returning to your detectors. So on the right side, basically these two slides shows that for example, there are two formation. One has lower density which is around 2 gram per cc. The other formation has high density around 3 gram per cc. In both cases, the number of gamma rays that are being emitted through the source are same. For example, 5 gamma rays are being emitted from your source. So in low density formation, as you can see, since we have less effect of Compton scattering, the number of gamma rays returning to the detectors are higher as compared to the case when the formation has high density. So when formation has high density, you will have great effect of Compton scattering. More and more gamma rays will be absorbed and will reduce their energy. So the number of gamma rays that are returning to your detectors are very less. So based on number of gamma rays coming to the detectors, you will guess the formation has high density or low density. So in one case, assuming that for example all of the gamma rays that are being emitted by your source are returning to your detector, so which indicates that the formation has very low density, because you neither have the effect of Compton scattering or the photoelectric absorption. So in another case, when you do not receive any gamma rays at your detector, so it is a case when the formation has very high density, that all of the gamma rays that has been emitted from your source have been collided in the formation and ultimately have reduced their energy and absorbed at the formation. So again, so based on the number of gamma rays returning to the detector, you basically guess the formation bulk density. So this is a description that a formation with a very high bulk density has a high number of density of electron. It basically attenuates the gamma rays significantly, and hence a low gamma ray count rate is recorded at the sensor. So high bulk density means low gamma ray count rate at the detector, and vice versa. A formation with a low bulk density will have a high gamma ray count rate recorded at the detectors. Again, the number of gamma rays coming from the sensor are same. So same bombardment at all the formation, depending on the bulk density, the count rates are lower or higher at the detector based on the bulk density of the formation. So again, the same fact that showing over here, that increasing density, less number of gamma rays travel through the formation and reach at the detector. The modern density tool consists of a source and two detectors. The source basically is generally should be radioactive cesium 137 or cobalt 60, and that radioactive source is continuously emitting gamma rays of medium energy. For example, cesium 137 emits gamma rays with an energy of around 662 kilo electron volt. And there are two detectors in the tool. One is called the short range detector. This detector is very close to the source, around 6" from the source, and basically it is measuring the gamma rays that is traveling through the mud cake. We will see in the coming slide. So this detector, the short range detector, basically the gamma rays that is traveling in the 7" region. So a very near effect of the formation is being measured through this short range detector. The long range detector, basically it's far from the source, around 16", around 1.5 feet from the source, and basically this detector, the long range detector, is measuring the formation response. And the purpose of basically using these two detectors is to eliminate the effect of mud cake. So the purpose is to eliminate the effect of mud cake. We will see. So as I mentioned that it is a PET tool. PET tool means that the tool is stuck to your formation face, formation wall. There are two detectors, one source and two detectors, short space detector and the long space detector. So short range, long range, which means short space, and long space detector. The short space detector basically is very close, around 6-7", and the long space detector is around 1.5 feet from the source. We have seen that basically when you are doing logging, the mud is present, and whenever the mud is present, you will have a mud cake against the permeable formations. So all the gamma rays that are being emitted through the source first have to travel through the mud cake into the formation, and then Compton scattering, photoelectric absorption in the formation, and return through the mud cake to the detectors. So in order to basically avoid the distance, first we stick the tool to the formation wall. So the tool is stick to the formation wall, a PET type tool, and the purpose is to minimize the environmental effect, to make sure that when the gamma rays are emitted from the source, it emitted at the formation, and when basically they are coming to the detectors, less they are coming to the detector directly from the formation. So this is the purpose of sticking your tool to the formation wall. But again, whatever effort you do to make the tool sticking to your formation, there are still an space of mud cake between your tool and formation. So the mud cake will also be affecting your responses coming from the formation. So in order to get the true response of the formation, you basically use two detectors. One is short space detector and that is long space detector, to cancel out the effect of mud cake. We will see the detectors in the density tool are similar to the detectors we have seen in the gamma ray log. Remember that we have seen that in gamma ray log, gamma ray tool measures the formation's natural radioactive response, and that the gamma rays in gamma ray log basically was the gamma rays that were coming naturally from the formation, that was the radiation formation was naturally emitting. So remember that the gamma rays first strike with the scintillation crystal. Scintillation crystal, remember that the crystal basically was the crystal, when gamma rays strike to that, it produces a flash of light which basically is multiplied in the photo multiplier tube, and at the end of the photo multiplier tube, a signal, electrical signal is generated, and that is the signal that is recorded at that particular depth. And again we have seen that a time constant was there, that a number of gamma rays that were coming from the formation were stored in this scintillation counter, and an average electrical signal of that particular time constant is recorded. So detectors in density tool are similar. They are basically measuring the gamma rays coming from the formation, but in this case the gamma rays that are coming from the formation are basically we have bombarded in the formation. They are not basically the natural response of the formation. So gamma rays from the formation that we have bombarded through the sensor, through the source, are coming, and the same effect is happening. They are basically detected by a scintillation detector, which convert the gamma rays into the flash of light, which is then seen by the photomultiplier tube, and that photomultiplier tube convert this light into an electrical signal proportional to the energy of the detected gamma rays. Again, the counts are accumulated to give an energy spectrum. So we have seen that the gamma rays are reducing their energy because of the Compton scattering, and Compton scattering generally indicates the number of electron, the electron density of the formation. But we know that in an atom we also have neutrons and protons. So we are interested in measuring formation density rather than only the electron density. But we know that generally there are protons, the protons and plus neutrons are generally twice of that of electron, and this basically relationship works for most of the element. 2 times the atomic number divided by the atomic mass is equal to 1. So we use this principle that twice of atomic number divided by the atomic mass is generally equal to 1, and by knowing this relationship we convert the electron density as measured by the tool into the formation density. So this is basically a relationship that convert the electron density basically as measured by the tool to the formation bulk density, and as mentioned over here that this empirical equation converts electron density to bulk density, so that the density tool gives the correct bulk density for 0 to 100% water limestone mixture. So the formation measure, the tool measures electron density, and basically for most of the material electron density is equal to bulk density, and when there are some differences, that differences basically are compensated by using this correlation. Again, this work will be done by the logger that has run the tool. So as a petroleum engineer, when we are working at an office of an E&P company, we are provided the logs where this all work has been done. So we are provided with the bulk density. So we are not provided with the electron density or with correlation or something. This is the work which is done by the logger that is running the tool inside the well bore and recording the raw readings, and that person, basically the logger, basically is converting the raw data into the readable or the conventional manner. So when we are as a petroleum engineer, we are basically provided the log responses, and the bulk density is always provided to us with depth. As mentioned that for majority of the formation, the electron density and the true density are same. For example, sandstone, quartz, the electron density as measured by the tool is 2.65, because for the quartz 2Z upon A is equal to 1, approximately 1. So the electron density is as measured by the tool is equal to the true density. Same case with the calcite, which is calcium carbonate, which is limestone. So limestone, the tool is measuring around 2.708 electron density, and which is almost equal to its true density. Dolomite, same case, 2.86. The true density is around 2.87, basically 2.87. Anhydrite, Electron density basically is that electron density as measured by a tool is 2.957 and its true density is around 2.96. Halide, salt. As you can see, salt does not follow the rule of 2z upon a is equal to 1. So 2z upon a for salt is 0.958. So the electron density as measured by the tool is around 2.074, and basically when you are reporting at the log it is reported as 2.03, but the actual density of salt is 2.17. The actual density of this halide formation is 2.17. So except salt you can see the other common lithologies, the reported density as reported in the log is equal to its true density, so it can be trusted except for the salt. Salt reported density is 2.03, but its actual density is 2.17. So just keep in mind that for salt the tool basically is reporting some lower value as compared to its true value. So again, what is bulk density and how basically we estimated it from the log. Bulk density is an average density of your rock, and we know that the rock is composed of solids and pores. So any rock, for example sandstone, is composed of of majority of the solids with some pores, and in that pores you may have any fluid, for example water, oil or gas, and water, oil and gas will have some densities. So for example in this condition, for example 90% of your rock is composed of solids and 10% pores are occupied by a fluid which has a density F. So when basically you need to estimate the density of this two system, basically it's a two component system. One component is your solid and the second component is the fluid that is present in the pores. So when are you required to calculate the average density of this two component system, you will use the volume weighted average of the two density. So density of log, again this is the bulk density because the log is reporting the bulk density. So the bulk density, log density, or you call it the average density of the rock, is basically is porosity times the density fluid plus 1 minus porosity times the density of the matrix. Because system has two components, one is the pores which is occupied by the fluid which has a density of density fluid, and the second component is the solid which is occupied by the which is called the matrix, and basically 1 minus porosity. So if porosity is 10% or 10% of the system is occupied by the fluid, and remaining 1 minus porosity which is 90% of the system is occupied by your matrix. So this is the formula to estimate the average density of this two component system. And when you basically convert the when you basically want to estimate porosity from this formula, you rearrange the equation and the final equation become this: the porosity is equal to density matrix minus density log divided by density matrix minus density fluid. Density matrix is the density of the solid of the matrix. For example, limestone, if the solid is composed of the calcite, which is limestone, so the density of matrix, which is 2.71, has to be placed inside in this equation. The density of the log, the bulk density of the log that you have measured against that particular zone. So each zone in the log will have a density, and that is called a density log. So then the value of density at a particular depth is called the density log, which is the bulk density. So density matrix minus density log, which you will read from the log, divided by density matrix minus density fluid. And according to the fluid, for example, water will have a different density, oil will have a different density, and gas will have a different density. So through this formula you calculate the porosity at a given depth. For example, the density log reads 2.49 gram per cc, and you have been asked to calculate the porosity. First of all, you need to assume matrix density, assuming that the rock composed of quartz sandstone, and the density of sandstone is 2.65 gram per cc, and the fluid in the formation is the fresh water, and the fresh water density is 1 gram per cc. For time being, we are assuming that rock is composed of any material and fluid content, but obviously when we are working on actual log, we cannot assume things. When we are working on actual logs, we are required to estimate first the rock type and the fluid content in the formation before calculating the porosity. So for example, when we know that the matrix and the fluid content, and when we know the formula, we place numbers in this equation. For example, matrix density is 2.65, log density as measured through the log is 2.49 divided by 2.65 minus 1. So the porosity at that depth where the bulk density is 2.49, and the porosity at that depth is 10%. As this is basically the summary of the equation. The bulk density is the density you read from the log. Density of the fluid is the density of the fluid. So you first need to estimate the type of fluid in the pores before calculating porosity, whether it has water, oil, or gas. And similarly, the density of matrix. So in order to calculate porosity, you first need to estimate the type of the lithology, whether it's sandstone, limestone, dolomite, a mixture of sandstone and dolomite, or a mixture of sandstone, limestone, and mixture of sand and shale. So first we need to estimate the type of lithology, type of fluid, and then we go and calculate porosity by using this equation. So the quartz, the 0% quartz has a density of 2.65 gram per centimeter cube. 0% calcite has a density of 2.71 gram per centimeter cube. 0% dolomite has a density of 2.87 gram per centimeter cube, and these are also some clay minerals, the shale minerals. So as you can see, depending on the mineral, shale has different densities. So 2.59 shale can have a density of 2.90. Halite, the salt, has a density of 2.16, and so on. So each mineral has a different density. Similarly, the fluid, gas density can vary. Gas can have density of around maybe 0.01, maybe 0.05, and maybe 0.1 gram per cc. So gas density depends on pressure and temperature. But in this course, whenever we are required to put where we are required to enter the value of the density, we will use this number 0.1 gram per cc. But remember that gas density is a variable number which varies with pressure and temperature. Similarly, oil density also changes depending on the type of the oil: volatile oil, black oil, heavy oil. But in this course, whenever you are required to enter the oil density, you will use 0.7 gram per cc. Similarly, water density, the fresh water density is 1 gram per cc, but saline water has a density higher than 1 gram per cc. So water may have density 1.05, 1.1, in some cases maybe up to 1.2 gram per cc, depending on the salinity ppm. So water, if a salinity is higher, for example 100,000 ppm, so the water density will obviously be higher. But in this course, whenever you are required to enter the water density, you will use 1 gram per cc. So these are some typical numbers you will be using in calculating porosity. But again, I repeat that in order to estimate porosity, you first need to know the mineral and you also need to know the fluid content in the pores. For example, this is an example, and you have been asked to calculate porosity in zone number 2, again using density log. There are other porosity logs too. We will see neutron log and sonic log in coming weeks. So there are basically three porosity logs: density log, neutron log, and sonic log. So you can calculate porosity through these logs. So in this example, you have been asked to calculate porosity in zone number 2 using density log, assuming the lithology is limestone and filled with water. Again, for right now, you're assuming lithology and fluid content, but in real world, you first estimate lithology and fluid content, and then you calculate porosity using density, neutron, and sonic law. So for this exercise, you are assuming lithology and fluid content, and you are asked to calculate porosity in zone number 2. So the other thing you need is the density of the log in zone number 2. So the red color is indicating the density log, and the scale in this log section is from 1.95 to 2.95. So density value is varying from 1.95 to 2.95, and is represented through this red color, the red solid line. The small boxes have been made for your easiness, but if the small boxes are not there, you will make small boxes by yourself. There are basically four cycles in this log. So one, which means each box has each large box has 5 small boxes. So the total scale is from 1.95 to 2.95, which is 1 gram per cc. The difference between the two is 1 gram per cc, and when you divide by the 20 small boxes, it turns out to be 0.05 gram per cc. So one small box is equal to 0.05 gram per cc. So on the extreme left, the density value is 1.95. After 5 boxes on this bold blue line, the density value is 2.20 gram per cc, and on the second bold blue line, the density value is 2.45 gram per cc. On third dark blue line is 2.70 gram per cc, and on the extreme right its value is 2.95 gram per cc. So one small box is equal to 0.05 gram per cc. So by reading the value of density in zone number 2, 2.20, 2.25, 2.30, 2.35, and slightly higher than 2.35, so maybe it's 2.37. So density value in zone number 2 is 2.37 gram per cc by knowing the scale and by knowing the small box value. So again, we know the formula. This is the formula to estimate the porosity. We know the matrix. The matrix is limestone, whose density is 2.71 gram per cc, and the fluid content is water, and the density of water is 1 gram per cc, and the log density value is 2.37 gram per cc. So the formula, we place the values in the formula: 2.71 minus 2.37 divided by 2.71 minus 1. So it turns out that the porosity in at zone number 2 is 20%. This is another example. You have been asked to calculate porosity in zone number 3 using density log, assuming that lithology is dolomite and porosity is filled with the water. So dolomite has a density of 2.87 gram per cc. You need to remember the matrix values of sandstone, limestone, and dolomite, and the fluid densities also. This number will not be provided in the exams. So dolomite lithologist is told to you that zone number 3 is dolomite and it is filled with water. In real world, you first need to estimate the lithology and the type of fluid by yourself. So first you read the log density. Again, the scale is similar, 1.95 to 2.95, which means one small box is equal to 0.05 gram per cc, and when you read the value, the third dark blue line and the density value at this point is 2.70 gram per cc. So density value in zone number 3 through the log is 2.70 gram per cc. So you know the formula, you know the matrix type, you know the fluid type, you placed all the values in the formula, and the porosity of zone number 3 is 9%. So that's how you calculate porosity through the density log.